Hello, hello, hello. Whoa, be hand real. No, you guys have seen my face before. This is nothing that crazy. Oh, hello. Guys, 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 guys. I tried to set this up as best as I could, with the limited resources that I do have. Gosh, I still got like kind of sticky stuff like on the front. But yes, whee! I'm really excited. I'm really excited to start doing reading streams. Let me just have a drink real quick. I have juice in my drink bottle and it tastes a little bit funny. I might have to wash that out and just fill it up with water. I don't know why it tastes so funny. That's no good. I'll do that later. Ugh. Anyway, hi. Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi. Hello, Ivan. How you doing? How are you doing? Yeah, something about that juice is not right. Whatever, like the juice in my drink bottle. I don't think it's the juice in the fridge. Like, I think that was something up the drink bottle. There. La la la. La la la. I'm alright. Did some sparring earlier. A bit tired. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just like giving it a second before like we get into reading and everything. Just kind of give people a chance to get in here. Sorry, that juice really threw me off. I feel like I don't usually stream this early. Oh no, it's like yeah, it's like 10:30. 10:40. Do 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 do. But yeah, I don't know how many streams this will take me to read because I read this on one flight to Brisbane. Just, you know. Yeah, no, it's like 10:45 a.m. It's not night. But yeah, no, what was I saying? So I read this in one flight to Brisbane. Like I read the entire thing, and finished it. So it's, you know, it's a shorter book. No, not too thick. So probably it might even take us just the one stream. Let's see. God, that's sticky stuff. There was a sticker in the corner, and that's like why there's that little mark there. You kind of see it. Bit gross. Anyway, are you ready for this? I'm a bit nervous for some reason. I don't know why I'm nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous about this. Not like I haven't like read stuff out loud on stream before, you know. Playing Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney at the moment. Congrats on the first, Wyvern. I'm gonna have this open though. Okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, little prince. Okay. One thing I want to address real quick is I know that there was one vote on the secret garden. Like, nobody really voted on the poll, and there was a vote for the secret garden. So realistically, we should have started with the secret garden. But also, I don't have a physical copy of the secret garden. Like, I know I could find it online and just read it, but I don't know. There's just something different about doing this. I don't know. I don't know. Woo, woo, woo. Okay. The little prince. Okay. Alright. I'm so fucking numb. I love this story, by the way. This is just a blurb, which I don't know if you have access to a printer, but you could probably print it if you find it online. Yeah, but like, I don't know. I like having books. Is that weird? Is that so strange? Yeah. I had a real hard time trying to position my camera, trying to position my phone, but this is the best I could probably get. So, with like the limited resources I do have. Do you guys like my, oh my gosh, my little like trinkets? My little trinkets. Yes. Okay. I just thought that would be fun to have in the background. But yeah. Let's read the blurb. Let's read the blurb then. The Little Prince. Grown-ups never understand anything by themselves. It is rather tiring for children to have to explain things to them time and again. So says the narrator, a budding artist who abandoned his colored pencils at the age of 6 when adults failed to appreciate his illustration of a snake that has eaten an elephant. Imagination crushed by the prosaic and sensible. Years later, he becomes a pilot, and when his aircraft fails him over the Sahara Desert, he meets a mysterious extraterrestrial traveler, the Little Prince, who regales him with his own asteroid-hopping adventures. He tells of a king who is gladly to finally have a subject to reign over, a drunkard who drinks to numb the shame he feels for overindulging, a businessman who spends his time counting the stars and the notional wealth ownership brings him, a lamplighter living on a planet so tiny that no sooner has he lit the lamp than it's time to extinguish it again, a geographer who records but does not experience the natural world. I read that very weirdly. The foibles, flaws, and absurdities observed in those characters are replicated en masse on Earth in this beguiling, multi-layered fable, written at the height of the Second World War, when the author's homeland was reeling under German occupation. Alright. Alright, let's get into it. Chapter 1. Once, when I was 6 years old, I saw a magnificent picture in a book about virgin forest, which was called True Stories. It showed a boa constrictor swallowing a wild animal. Here is a copy of the picture. In the book, it said, boas swallow their prey whole, without chewing. Afterwards, they can't move, and so they sleep for 6 months while they digest it. I've thought a lot about adventures in the jungle, and as a result, I managed with a color pencil to draw my first picture. My number 1 drawing was like this. I showed my masterpiece to the grown-ups and asked if my picture frightened them. They replied, "Why would a hat frighten us?" My picture wasn't of a hat. It was of a boa who was digesting an elephant. I drew the inside of the boa so that the grown-ups could understand. They always need explanations. my second drawing was like this. The grown-ups advised me to put aside drawings of boas, whether from the inside or the outside, and concentrate on geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar. And that's why at the age of 6, I gave up a wonderful career as an artist. I was discouraged by the failure of my number 1 and number 2 drawings. Grown-ups never understand anything by themselves, and it's tiring for children to have to explain things to them over and over again. And so I chose another career and learned to fly a plane. I flew just about all over the world, and it's true that geography helped me a lot. I know how to tell, at first glance, the difference between China and Arizona. That's very useful if you're lost at night. So, during the course of my life... Sorry, I'm just gonna adjust the music, it's very quiet. I think that's a bit better. There we go. So, during the course of my life, I've had a lot of contact with a lot of people who are very serious. I've spent a lot of time among the grown-ups. I've seen them up close, and that hasn't much improved my opinion of them. When I've met one who seems reasonably sensible, I've experimented on them with my number 1 drawing, which I have always kept. I wanted to know if they really understood. But they always answered, "It's a hat." And so I never spoke to them about boa constrictors or virgin forests or stars. I put myself on their level and I talked to them about bridge, golf, politics, and ties. And the grown-ups were pleased to meet a man who was so sensible.
We going look at him.
Alright. Chapter 2. And so I lived alone, without anyone I could really talk to, until my plane broke down over the Sahara Desert, 6 years ago. Something in my engine was damaged, and since I had neither a mechanic nor passenger with me, I was going to try to carry out the difficult repair by myself. It was a question of life or death for me, because I had scarcely enough drinking water to last a week. That first night, I slept on the sand, 1,000 miles from any human habitation. I was more alone than if I had been shipwrecked and left floating on a raft in the middle of the ocean. So you can imagine my surprise at dawn when a funny little voice woke me saying, "Please, draw a sheep for me." What? Draw a sheep for me? I jumped to my feet as though I'd been struck by lightning. I rubbed my eyes hard and looked intently. And there I saw an extraordinary little fellow who was considering me gravely. Here's the best portrait that I was able to draw later on, but my drawing is much less delightful than the subject. It's not my fault I had been discouraged by the grown-ups in my career as a painter at the age of 6, and I haven't learned to draw anything except boa constrictors from the outside and from the inside. I looked at this apparition, my eyes round in astonishment. Don't forget that I was 1,000 miles from even the smallest village or hamlet. The little fellow didn't seem lost, or exhausted, or dying of hunger, or thirst, or scared to death. There was nothing of the look of a child lost in the middle of the desert, 1,000 miles from anywhere. When I eventually managed to speak to him, I said, "But what are you doing here?" So I'm keeping an eye out. Like, I want to keep in check when ads are popping up. Make sure, like, I pause when there's ad breaks and stuff. But there hasn't been we're getting close to that half an hour mark where usually ads do start. We're getting closer to it. Bleh. Anyway. They replied very softly, as though it was a very important matter.
Please, draw a sheep for me.
When something mysterious makes such a strong impact, you don't dare disobey. As absurd as it seemed, 1,000 miles from anywhere and in mortal danger, I took a sheet of paper and a pen out of my pocket. But I remembered that I had mainly studied geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar, and I said to the little fellow, a little grumpily, that I didn't know how to draw. He replied,
That doesn't matter. Draw a sheep for me.
Autumn, hi, how's it going? How are you? Since there was only one vote on the poll, I was like, I'm just gonna read The Little Prince to start off with because it's short. It's a good place to start for a reading stream, I think. But how are you? How are you, Autumn? Since I had never drawn a sheep before, I drew one of the two pictures which I was able to do. The boa constrictor from the outside. The boa constrictor from the outside. I was utterly astonished to hear the little fellow reply, No, I don't want an elephant inside a boa. A boa is very dangerous and an elephant is very cumbersome. My home is very small and I need a sheep. Draw a sheep for me. Yeah, all the books that I put in the poll were all public domain. Because I know that public domain books are okay to read on stream. So we're basically going to be reading like public domain stuff on stream because I know that will be safe and I won't get in trouble for it. I don't read very much, to be honest. Listening to a book is nice though. Yes. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. And so I drew. He watched attentively, then said, No, that one is already very ill. Draw another. I drew. My friend smiled indulgently. It isn't a sheep, you know. It's a goat. It has horns. So I began drawing again. But, like its predecessors, it was rejected. That one's too old. I want a sheep that will live a long time. So, losing patience, because I was in a hurry to begin taking apart my engine, I scribbled the drawing here. This is a crate. The sheep that you want is inside, I explained a little sharply. I was surprised to see the face of my young judge light up. That's just how I wanted it. Do you think this sheep will need a lot of grass? Why? Because my home is very small. It's bound to be enough. I'll give you a tiny sheep. He bent his head over the drawing. It's not all that small. Look, he's gone to sleep. And that's how I first met the little prince. Sorry, Jaden. I'm really bad with names. Even like people in real life, it takes me ages to like learn their names sometimes. In my job, like we have to write down the names of the attendants of like everyone who attended a program that day. And sometimes I struggle with names and I'm like, oh God, who's that person's name again? How do I even spell it? Ugh. So, there's a lot of names to remember. A lot of faces and names and people. Okay. I need to keep an eye on my phone battery. It's on 83%. When my phone dies, we'll have to figure out something. Chapter 3. It took me a long time to understand where he came from. The little prince, who asked me so many questions, never seemed to listen to any of mine. It was just little things he said, which, bit by bit, revealed the whole story. And so, when he noticed my plane for the first time, I won't draw my plane, it's too complicated for me, he asked, What's that thing there? It isn't a thing, it flies. It's a plane. It's my plane. I was proud to tell him that I could fly.
What? You fell out of the sky?
He exclaimed in response. Yes, I said modestly.
Ah, that's funny.
The little prince let out a peal of laughter, which very much irritated me. I like my misfortunes to be taken seriously. Then, he added, so you come from the sky too? Which planet are you from? I had a glimmer of understanding of how he had come to be here, and I abruptly asked, so you come from another planet? He didn't reply, but instead gently shook his head, all the while looking at my plane. It's true, you can't have come far aboard that. He was lost in his thoughts for a long time. Then, taking my sheep out of his pocket, he became completely absorbed in contemplating his treasure. You can imagine how intrigued I was by this little revelation about the other planets. I tried to find out more. Where do you come from, my little fellow? Where is your home? Where do you want to take my sheep? After a thoughtful silence, he replied, What's good about the crate you've given me is that he can use it as a shelter at night. Of course, and if you're good, I'll also give you a rope so that you can tether him during the day, and a peg. The idea seemed to shock the little prince.
Tie him up? What a strange idea!
But if you don't tie him up, he'll wander wherever he likes, and he'll get lost. My friend broke into laughter again.
But where do you think he'll go?
Anywhere. Straight ahead. The little prince replied gravely.
That doesn't matter. My planet is so small.
And with that might have been a hint of melancholy, he added.
Straight ahead. You can't go very far.
I could toss you my phone when yours runs out. Just make sure you open the window. This song's a bit distracting. Hold on. I'm opening up a different playlist. Mute for the ad. Muting it. Skip. Okay. I forgot that I had a different little, like, chill playlist video thing. Anyway. Chapter 4. Thus I had learned a second very important thing. The planet that he came from was scarcely bigger than a house. That didn't really surprise me. I knew very well that besides the big planets such as Earth, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, which have been named, there are hundreds of others, which are sometimes so small that it's hard to see them even with a telescope. When an astronomer discovers one of these, he gives it a number. He would call it asteroid 325, for example. I have good reason to believe that the little prince's planet is an asteroid B612. That asteroid was only seen once, with a telescope, by a Turkish astronomer in 1909. He had put on a grand presentation, announcing his discovery at the International Astronomy Congress. Sorry. But no one believed him because of his Turkish costume. Grown-ups are like that. Fortunately for the reputation of asteroid B612, a Turkish dictator imposed European-style dress on his people on pain of death. The astronomer made his presentation again in 1920, wearing a very elegant suit. At that time, everyone agreed with him. Oh my gosh. Ay, ay, ay. Colonialism. Side-eye. If I have given you the details about asteroid B612 and told you its number, it's because of the grown-ups. Grown-ups like numbers. When you speak to them about new friends, they ask you about anything really important. They never ask you about anything really important. They never say, what does his voice sound like? What are his favorite games? Does he collect butterflies? They ask, what age is he? How many brothers does he have? What does he weigh? How much does his father earn? And that's how they think they will get to know him. If you say to grown-ups, I have seen a beautiful house made of pink bricks with geraniums at the window and doves on the roof, they won't be able to imagine the house. You have to say, I've seen a house worth 100,000 francs. And then they'll exclaim, isn't it lovely? If you say the proof the little prince existed is that he was delightful, that he laughed, and that he wanted a sheep, when you want a sheep, it's proof that you exist. They will shrug their shoulders and treat you like a child. But if you say, the planet he comes from is asteroid B612, then they'll be convinced, and they'll leave you in peace with their questions. They're like that. You can't hold it against them. Children have to be very indulgent with grown-ups. Of course, those of us who understand life scoff at numbers. I would have liked to have begun the story like a fairy tale. I like to have said, once upon a time there was a little prince who lived on a planet scarcely as big as himself, and who was in need of a friend. For those who understand life, that would seem a lot more true. I don't want anyone to take my book lightly. I feel so much sadness in recounting my memories. It's already 6 years since my friend went away with his sheep. If I try to describe him here, it's so that I don't forget him. Incoming ad break. We'll wait for the ad break. We'll wait for the ad break.
Meow.
Wait for the ad break real quick, because it's like 20 seconds. I feel like that's a good place to just like put that on hold. The phone battery goes down really quickly with the camera. I'm gonna take this opportunity to check my board. I'm waiting for the ad break to come. I bet you the moment I'm like, all right, let's just start reading, it's gonna be like ad break. I'll be like, no.
Alright.
There we go, there's the ad break. Oh, I just dropped my phone. Ah! Hold on. Fuck. Eh. Hold on. No! Yes! Ruining the vibes! It's okay. Alright, which way? Please automatically connect up. There we go. I just knocked over my phone and then I accidentally closed camera program. Okay. Continue because the ad break's over. It's sad to forget a friend. Not everyone has a friend. And I could become like the grown-ups who are only interested in numbers. So that's why I bought a box of paints and some pencils. I have to readjust things again. So I knocked over my phone. Ah! Anyway. Not everyone has a friend. And I could become like the grown-ups who are only interested in numbers. So that's why I bought a box of paints and some pencils. It's hard to start drawing again at my age. when I've never attempted anything but a boa, showing the outside or showing the inside, since the age of 6. I'll try, of course, to make portraits that are as lifelike as possible, but I'm not at all sure that I'll succeed. One drawing turns out well, and then another doesn't resemble him at all. I've also made a mistake with the height. Here, the little prince is too tall. There, he's too small. I'm also hesitating about the color of his suit. I'm stumbling along, trying this and that. Some things are working well, some not. I'm bound to make mistakes about some important details. But you must forgive me for that. My friend never explained anything. Perhaps he thought I was the same as him, but unfortunately, I don't know how to see sheep through crates. Perhaps I'm a bit like a grown-up. I must have grown old. Here's this little picture of the prince. Chapter 5. Each day I learned something about the planet, the little prince's departure, or the journey. Right there. Each day I learned something about the planet, the little prince's departure, or the journey. It came out slowly, by chance in conversations. So it was on the 3rd day that I heard the terrible story of the baobabs. Baobabs? Blah, 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 blah. Again, it was thanks to the sheep, because the little prince, as though sized with serious doubts, asked me brusquely, "Is it true that sheep eat bushes?" "Yes, it's true." "Ah, I'm glad." I didn't understand why it was so important that sheep eat bushes, but the little prince added, "So does that mean they will also eat baobab? How the fuck do you pronounce that? Hold on. Let's look. Take a quick second. Pronunciation. Baobab. Okay. Baobab. Okay, got it. Baobab. I just looked it up. Because that's what you do when you don't know how to pronounce a word. Just look it up. Look up how to pronounce it. Or you don't know the meaning of a word. Baobabs. Explain to the little prince that baobabs aren't bushes, but in fact trees, as large as churches. And even if he took a herd of elephants with him, the herd wouldn't manage to finish off one single baobab. The idea of a herd of elephants made the little prince laugh. "We'd have to put one on top of another." But he also wisely remarked, Before baobabs grow tall, they start off small." That's true, but why do you want the sheep to eat the little baobabs? He replied, "Oh, please," as though the answer was obvious. It took a great deal of thought for me to understand his problem. Essentially, on the little prince's planet, like every other planet, there were good plants and bad plants, and consequently good seeds from good plants and bad seeds from bad plants. But seeds aren't visible. They sleep hidden in the soil until one of them takes a fancy to wake up. Then, timidly at first, This lovely and quite harmless little twig stretches and pushes toward the sun. If it's a little radish or a rose, you can let it grow as it likes. But if it's a bad plant, you have to pull it up as soon as you recognize it. There were terrible seeds on the little prince's planet. Baobab seeds. The soil was infested with them. With baobabs, if you act too late, you can never, ever get rid of them. They will clutter up the whole planet. They burrow with their roots. And if the planet is too small, and there are too many baobabs, they'll break it apart. It's a question of discipline, he said later. Once you have washed and dressed and are tidy for the day, you must take care to tidy up the planet too. You need to be dedicated to pulling up the baobabs as soon as you can distinguish them from the roses, which they resemble when they are young. It's a boring job, but it's very easy. One day, he suggested I set about making a beautiful drawing to make sure that children on my planet would understand his warning. It might be useful to them, he told me. If they travel one day, sometimes it doesn't matter to put off work until later, but when it comes to baobabs, sorry, my brain stopped for a second. But when it comes to baobabs, it's always a disaster. I knew a planet inhabited by a lazy person. He had neglected 3 bushes. That's that little picture of it. And so, following the instructions of the little prince, I drew this planet here. I don't really like to take a moral tone, but the danger of baobabs is little known, and the risks run by those who live on asteroids are so considerable that for once I made an exception to my rule. I said, "Children, be careful of baobabs." It was to warn my friends of the danger they had been courting without knowing it that I worked so hard on the picture. The lesson was worth the trouble. You might ask why there are no other drawings in the book as magnificent as the picture of the baobabs. The answer is simple. I tried, but I didn't succeed. When I drew the baobabs, I was driven by the spirit of urgency. Chapter 6. So, little prince, bit by bit, I understood your melancholy for life. Melancholy little life. Blech. Oh my gosh. My nose is so itchy. So, little prince, bit by bit, I understood your melancholy little life. For a long time, your only entertainment was the gentle pleasure of the sunset. I learned this new detail on the 4th morning when you said, "I really like sunsets. Let's go see a sunset." But we'll have to wait. Wait for what? Wait until the sun sets. You looked surprised at first when you laughed to yourself and said, "I was thinking that I'm still at home." Everyone knows that when it's midday in the United States, the sun is setting in France. All we'll need is to be able to get to France in 1 minute to watch the sunset. Sadly, France is much too far away. But on your little planet, you'd only have to drag your chair a few steps, and you could see the twilight anytime you desired. One day I saw the sunset 44 times. And a moment later, you added, "You know, when you are very sad, you love the sunset." Were you so very sad on the day of the 44 sunsets? The little prince didn't reply. Chapter 7. On the 5th day, thanks again to the sheep, the secret about the little prince's life was revealed. He asked me abruptly without warning, as though it was the result of a problem he'd been quietly contemplating for some time. "A sheep, if it eats bushes, does it also eat flowers?" "A sheep eats everything it comes across. Even flowers with thorns?" "Yes, even flowers with thorns." "So what are What are thorns for? I didn't know. I was busy trying to loosen a bolt which was stuck tight in my engine. I was very worried. Sorry, I keep forgetting to adjust the book in the camera. I was very worried because the problem with the plane was beginning to look very serious, and the drinking water was running out, making me fear the worst. Thorns? What are they for? The little prince never let a question go once he had asked it. I was irritated because of my bolt, and I replied without thinking, Thorns, they have no purpose. They are just spiteful on the part of the flowers. Oh! After silence, he snapped at me in a rather resentful tone. I don't believe you. Flowers are fragile. They are naive. They reassure themselves as best they can. They think they are frightening with their thorns. I didn't reply. I was busy thinking that if the bolt was still stuck, I'd loosen it with a tap of the hammer. Little Prince disrupted my thoughts again. And truly you believe that flowers... No, I don't believe anything, I replied again without thinking. I'm busy with serious matters. He looked at me stupefied. Serious matters? He studied me, hammer in hand, fingers black with sticky oil, bent over an object which to him seemed very ugly. You talk like a grown-up. That made me a bit ashamed, but unpityingly, he added, You confuse everything. You mix up everything. He was really very annoyed. He shook his golden locks in the wind. I know a planet where there is a red-faced man. He has never smelled a flower. He has never looked at a star. He has never loved anyone. He's never done anything other than his calculations. And all day he repeats like you, I am a serious man. I am a serious man. And that makes him swell up with pride. But he isn't a man. He's a mushroom. A what? A mushroom. The little prince was now pale with anger. For millions of years, flowers have been producing thorns, and for millions of years sheep have been eating flowers despite the thorns. Is it not serious to try to understand why flowers go to so much trouble to produce thorns which never serve any purpose? Isn't the war between sheep and flowers important? Isn't it more serious and more important than the calculations of a fat red-faced man? And if I myself knew a flower that is unique in the world, which exists only on my planet, and a little sheep could destroy it at a stroke one morning without realizing what he had done, isn't that important? He blushed and went on, If someone loves a flower, and there is only one such flower among the millions and millions of stars, that's enough to make him happy. When he looks at them, he says to himself, my flower is out there, somewhere. What if the sheep eats the flower for him? But if the sheep eats the flower, for him it's as though the stars have been suddenly extinguished, and that's important. He could say no more. He burst abruptly into tears. Night had fallen. I had put my tools aside. I no longer cared about my hammer or my bolt, or thirst or death. On a star, a planet, mine, the earth, there was a little prince to console. I took him in my arms and rocked him. I said, The flower you love isn't in danger. I will draw a muzzle for your sheep. I will draw armor for your flower. I wasn't sure what to say. I felt awkward. I didn't know how to reach him, where to find him. The land of tears is so mysterious. Chapter 8. I soon learned to know this flower better. On the little prince's planet, there had always been very simple flowers decorated with just a single ring of petals, which took up very little space and didn't trouble anyone. They would appear in the grass one morning and would have already wilted by the evening. But one day, the special flower sprouted from a seed, which had become... I lost my spot. But one day, the special flower sprouted from a seed, which had come from who knows where, and the little prince had watched the twig closely. It didn't look like any other twig. It could have been a new kind of boabab. Got a pronunciation of that for a second. But the shrub soon stopped growing and began to prepare to flower. The little prince, who watched as a huge bud developed, felt that something miraculous was going to emerge, but the flower hadn't finished making herself beautiful in the shelter of her green chamber. She chose her colors carefully. She dressed slowly, adjusting her petals one by one. She didn't want to emerge crumpled like the poppies. She wanted only to appear fully radiant in her beauty. And yes, she was very flirtatious. Her mysterious beauty preparations had taken days and days, and then one morning, just as the sun rose, she showed herself. And she, who had worked with such care, yawned and said, "Ah, I'm only just awake. Excuse me, I'm still a little disheveled." The little prince could not contain his admiration. "You are so beautiful." "I am, aren't I?" the flower replied charmingly. "And I was born at just the same time as the sun." The little prince could see that she wasn't very modest, but she was thrilling. "I think it's breakfast time," she soon added. "Would you be kind enough to think of me?" And the little prince, all flustered, having found a watering can filled with cool water, served the flower. And so it was that she began to torment him with her haughty vanity. One day, for example, talking about her 4 thorns, she said to the little prince, Let the tigers come with their claws." "There aren't any tigers on my planet," the little prince objected, "and tigers don't eat weeds." "I'm not a weed," the flower replied sweetly. "Forgive me. I have no fear of tigers, but I really detest droughts. You wouldn't have a screen, would you?" Detesting droughts? That's bad luck for a plant," remarked the little prince. "This flower's really complicated." "Put me under a cloche in the evening. It's very cold on your planet. It's uncomfortable where I come from. It's uncomfortable where I come from." But she stopped herself. She had come as a seed. She could have known nothing of other worlds. Humiliated to be caught ready to tell such a foolish lie, she coughed 2 or 3 times to put the little prince in the wrong. "And my screen? I was going to look for it, but you spoke to me." Then she forced a cough to make him feel sorry again. So, despite all the goodwill brought by his love, the little prince soon doubted her. He had taken her words, which were unimportant, seriously, and that had made him very unhappy. "I shouldn't have listened to her," he confided in me one day. "You should never listen to flowers. You should just look at them and breathe them in. Mine filled my planet with fragrance, but I didn't know how to enjoy that. This talk of the claws, which so annoyed me, should have touched me instead," he confided once more. "I didn't know how to understand anything. I should have judged her on her actions, not her words. She filled my life with fragrance and light. I should never, ever have run away. I should have seen her tenderness behind her feeble ruses. Flowers are so contradictory, and I was too young to know how to love her." Chapter 9. You see, my phone's at 70% right now. Okay. Chapter 9. I think he took advantage of the migration of some wild birds to make his escape. On the morning after his departure, he put his planet in good order. He carefully cleaned the active volcanoes. He possessed 2 active volcanoes. They were handy for heating the breakfast in the morning. He also possessed an extinct volcano. But as he said, "You never know," and so he even swept the extinct volcano. If they are properly cleaned, the volcanoes burn gently and regularly without eruptions. Volcanic eruptions are like chimney fires. Obviously, on our planet Earth, we are much too small to sweep our volcanoes. That's why they cause a lot of problems. With a tinge of sadness, the little prince also pulled up the latest baobab shoots. He thought he would never return, but that morning all its familiar jobs seemed extremely pleasant. And when he watered the flower for the last time and prepared to shelter her under the cloche, he realized that he felt like crying. "Goodbye," he said to the little flower, but she didn't reply. "Goodbye." Flower coughed, but it was not because she had a cold. Little picture of its little planet. "I was silly," she said at last. "I ask your forgiveness. Try to be happy." He was surprised by the absence of any reproach. He stood there, disconcerted, holding the cloche midair. He didn't understand this gentleness and calm. "Yes, I love you," said the flower. "It was my fault that you knew nothing of it. It isn't important. But you've been just as silly as me. Try to be happy. Leave the cloche alone. I don't want it anymore." "But the wind." "My cold isn't as bad as that. The cool night air will do me good. I'm a flower." "But the animals." "I have to put up with 2 or 3 caterpillars if I want to meet some butterflies. It seems that they are very beautiful. If not, who will visit me? You'll be far away. As for big beasts, I have no fear. I have my claws." Naively, she showed her 4 thorns, and then she added, "Don't hang around like that. It's annoying. You've decided to go. Go on." But she didn't want him to see her cry. She was such a proud flower. Just stretching real quick. Whoa, my phone's at 69%, guys. Sorry. Chapter 10. They found themselves near asteroids 325, 326, 327, 328, 329, and 330. So he started to visit them to look for something to do and to learn a little. The first was inhabited by a king. The king, dressed in purple and ermine, was seated on a very simple yet majestic throne. "Ah, here's the subject!" exclaimed the king when he noticed the little prince. The little prince wondered to himself, "How can he recognize me when he's never seen me before?" He didn't know that for kings, the world is very simple. Everyone is a subject. "Come closer so I can see you better," said the king, who was immensely proud to at last be ruling over someone. The little prince looked for somewhere to sit down, but the planet was covered by the magnificent ermine coat. So he remained standing, and because he was tired, he yawned. Can you go back? I had an ad. "Zah! Papa, hello! Hi! Hi!"
Blah, 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 blah.
How far do you want me to go back? We started a new chapter. We're like getting halfway through the book already, because it is quite small. We're almost at the halfway mark. I love the leaf. What, the ring? I also have a fidget ring, which has got little celestials. Or are you talking about the leaf here? I have my little trinkets. Ring? Hell yeah. I don't know what I did. There's a countdown on a bingo though. I don't know how this extension works and I'm kind of stupid. Oh, I didn't start a new game for the bingo, did I? Don't worry about the countdown thing. The bingo is, I don't think it's gonna be really necessary for, like, the reading streams, to be honest. Like, I don't think it's gonna be used that much, so I'm not gonna worry about it. But, yeah. I have, I gave, it's a little bit, like, it's cheap. It's very cheap. But I have La la la. I gave a matching one to Nate. That's like silver. But it's not like real silver, it's like cheap. Oh, it's pretty gay. Pretty gay. But, yeah, no, I gave them a matching one as a part of their birthday present. That's so good. Hella gay. Yeah. How have you been, Papa? Zot. Where was I? It's against the rules of etiquette to yawn in the presence of a king, said the monarch. I forbid you to do it. Makes random sounds should be added to the bingo. True. I guess that is so, but I feel like the bingo won't be of much use during reading streams. It's mostly just me reading. What work? What are you reading? We're reading The Little Prince. Which I thought would be a good start for a reading stream because it's very more so I figured this would be a good start for a reading stream. I don't think we'll finish it completely in the stream because my phone is on like already 67%. Shut the fuck up, don't say anything. Yeah. That's all good, Wyvern. But yeah. But we're reading The Little Prince, which I really like the story. How many percent? Shut up, Alturian. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Anyway. I can't help it, replied the little prince, disconcerted. I've been on a long journey and I haven't slept. Well then, said the king, I order you to yawn. I haven't seen anyone yawn for years. Yawning is a novelty for me. Come on, yawn again. It's an order. That's daunting. I can't do it now, said the little prince, blushing. Replied the king. Well then. I order you to sometimes yawn, and sometimes to... He spluttered a little and seemed upset. It was important to the king that his authority be respected. He did not tolerate any disobedience. He was an absolute monarch, but because he was a very good man, his orders were reasonable. If I ordered, he said, if I ordered a general to transform himself into a seabird, and if the general didn't obey, that wouldn't be the general's fault. It would be my fault. May I sit down? The little prince asked timidly. I order you to sit down, replied the king, who majestically gathered up some of his ermine coat. The little prince was perplexed. The planet was tiny. What was there for the king to reign over? Sire, he said, forgive me for asking. I order you to ask me a question, the king replied quickly. That's a little picture of the king. Sire, what do you reign over? Over everything, replied the king, with great simplicity. Over everything? With a restrained gesture, the king indicated his planet, and... With a restrained gesture, the king indicated his planet, the other planets, and the stars. Over all that? Asked the little prince. Over all of that, replied the king. But not only was he an absolute monarch, he was also a universal monarch. And the stars obey you? Of course, said the king. They obey immediately, and I don't I'm struggling to speak. I'm really good. I can read fine, it's just reading out loud really makes me stumble over my words. But also, I'm just a person who stumbles over his words anyway, so like, you know. They obey immediately. I don't tolerate indiscipline. Hi, Cacto! Thank you, Cacto. The little prince marveled at such power. If he possessed such power himself, he would be able to watch not 44, but 72, or even 100 or even 200 sunsets on the same day without even having to move his chair. And because he felt a little bit sad when he remembered the little planet that he had abandoned, he steeled himself to ask that the king grant him a request. I would like to see a sunset. Grant me the pleasure. Order the sun to set. If I ordered the general to fly from flower to flower like a butterfly, or write a tragedy, or to transform himself into a seabird, and if the general didn't carry out the order, who would be at fault, the general or me? It would be you, the little prince said firmly. Exactly. One must only ask a person to give One must only ask a person to give what they can give, replied the king. Authority rests upon reason. Authority rests upon reason before anything else. If you command your people to throw themselves in the sea, there will be a revolution. I have the right to demand obedience because my orders are reasonable. So what about my sunset? Prompted the little prince, who never forgot a question once he had asked it. You shall have your sunset. I will demand it, but I will wait until conditions are favorable according to my scientific system of government. When will that be? Inquired the little prince. Replied the king, who was consulting a large calendar. It will be It will be this evening, about 20 minutes to 8. And you will see how well I am obeyed. The little prince yawned. He was regretting missing the sunset, and he was already feeling a little bit bored. There's nothing more for me to do here, he said to the king. I'm going to set off again. Don't go, replied the king, who was so proud of having a subject. I'll make you a minister. Minister of what? Of justice. But there's no one to judge. We don't know that, said the king. I haven't yet made a complete tour of my kingdom. I'm very old. I don't have space for a carriage, and walking tires me out. But I've already checked, said the little prince, leaning forward and to have another quick glance at the other side of the planet. There's no one over there either. You shall judge yourself then, replied the king. That's the most difficult thing. It's much more difficult to judge yourself than to be the judge of other people. If you succeed in judging yourself fairly, then you are truly a wise man. But I can judge myself anywhere at all. I don't need to live here, said the little prince. I think there is an old rat somewhere on my planet. I hear him at night. You can judge that old rat. You will condemn him to death from time to time, and so his life will depend on your justice. But you will only pardon him each time in order to save him. We only have one. Replied the little prince. I don't like to condemn anything to death. I think I'll be off now. No, said the king. But, having made his preparations, the little prince didn't want to upset the old monarch. If your majesty wishes to be obeyed at once, you could give me a reasonable order. You could order me, for example, to leave in less than a minute. It seems to me that conditions are favorable. As the king made no reply, the little prince hesitated at first. Then, with a sigh, he took his leave. I make you my ambassador, the king cried out in haste. He had an air of great authority. Grown-ups are indeed very strange, the little prince said to himself as he went on his way. Chapter 11. The second planet was inhabited by a conceited man. It's a visit from an admirer, he exclaimed from afar as soon as he noticed the little prince. For those who are conceited, imagine all other people are admirers. Good morning, said the little prince. You have a funny hat. It's for salutations, replied the conceited man. It's to raise a salute when people acclaim me. Unfortunately, no one ever passes this way. Ah, yes, said the little prince, who didn't understand. Clap your hands, urged the conceited man. The little prince clapped. The conceited man raised his hat in a modest salute. It's more fun than visiting the king, the little prince said to himself. And he began to clap again. The conceited man began to raise his hat again, After 5 minutes of this activity, the little prince was tired of the monotony of the game. He asked what he had to do to make the hat fall off, but a conceited man didn't hear. Those who are conceited only hear praise. Do you admire me very much? He asked the little prince.
What does admire mean?
Admire means you agree that I am the most handsome, best dressed, richest, and most intelligent man on the planet.
But you're the only person on the planet.
Grant me this pleasure. Admire me all the same.
I admire you,
said the little prince, gently shrugging with his shoulders.
But why should that matter to you?
And with that, the little prince left.
Grown-ups are decidedly odd,
he said to himself as he went on his way. I'm noticing that there's like little marks on the pages. I don't know if you can barely see that, but there's like a little dent in the pages, and I don't know what that was from. But the only thing I can imagine it being from is the bookmark. Because there's like a little dent on one of the earlier pages as well from like the bookmark being folded in. So, yeah. I was just looking at that and it's distracting me. Chapter 12. The next planet was inhabited by a drunkard. This was a very short visit, but plunged the little prince into a state of deep melancholy.
What are you doing?
He asked the drunkard, whom he found sitting in silence in front of a collection of empty bottles and a collection of full ones. I'm drinking, replied the drunkard, Let's look at how to pronounce this word. Let's look at it. And what even this means. Oh my gosh. Looking or sounding sad and dismal. What is the pronunciation? Lugubrious. Okay, so it does sound basically how it looks. Excellent. Excellent. Lugubriously. Alright. I'm drinking, replied the drunkard lugubriously.
Why are you drinking?
Asked the little prince. To forget, replied the drunkard.
To forget what?
Inquired the little prince, who had already begun to pity him. To forget that I'm ashamed, confessed the drunkard, hanging his head.
Ashamed of what?
Asked the little prince, who wanted to help him. Ashamed of drinking, concluded the drunkard, who descended into a profound silence. The little prince left perplexed.
Grown-ups are decidedly very, very odd,
the little prince said to himself as he went on his way. Chapter 13. The fourth planet belonged to a businessman. This man was so busy that he didn't even lift his head when the little prince arrived.
Good morning, said the little prince. The cigarette has gone out.
3 and 2 make 5. 5 plus 7, 12. 12 and 3, 15. Good morning. 15 and 7, 22. 22 and 6, 28. No time to light it again. No time to light it again. 26 and 5, 31. Oof. That makes 501,622,731.
500 million what?
You're still here. 501 million... I don't know anymore. I've got so much work to do. I am a serious man. I don't waste my time on nonsense. 2 and 5, 7. 157. 5 million what? Repeated the little prince, who never let a question go once he asked it. Isn't this supposed to be a children's book? Also lugubriously? Yeah. It is. But it has a lot of big words. But, you know, I don't think it's, you know, it's definitely got a lot more meaning there for the adults who read this, you know. You know, my first time reading this book was November last year, I think. No, not November. It wasn't November. It was... Oh, fuck. What month would it have been? Actually, I think it was about almost a year ago was the first time I read this book. I think it was April or May. Was when I first read this book. So... And the dent, like the bookmark dent is on this page too as well. 5 million what? Repeated the little prince, who never let a question go once he had asked it. The businessman raised his head. In the 54 years I've lived on this planet, I've only been disturbed 3 times. First time 22 years ago, it was a beetle, which had dropped down from God knows where. It created such a terrible noise that I made 4 mistakes in one edition. The second time, 11 years ago, it was an attack of rheumatism. I don't get enough exercise. I don't have time to stroll around. I'm a serious man. Third time, well, this is it. I was saying 501 million. Millions of what? The businessman understood that there was no hope of being left in peace. Millions of those little things that you sometimes see in the sky. Flies? No. Those little things that sparkle. Bees? No, those little golden things which make lazy people daydream. But I'm a serious man. I don't have time to daydream. Ah, the stars. That's it, the stars. And what do you do with 500 million stars? 501,622,731. I am a serious man. I am precise. What do you do with the stars? What do I do with them? Yes, nothing. I own them. You own the stars? Yes. But I've already seen the king who... Kings do not own. They reign over. That's very different. And what purpose does it serve to own the stars? It makes me very rich. And what good does it do to be rich? To buy more stars if someone discovers them. This man, the little prince said to himself, reasons a bit like my drunkard. However, he asked some more questions. How can you own the stars? Who do they belong to? Retorted the businessman grumpily. I don't know. To nobody. Well, then they're mine, since I thought of it first. And that's enough? God, this is a real businessman, if I've ever seen one. Of course, when you find a diamond which doesn't belong to anyone, it's yours. When you find an island which doesn't belong to anyone, it's yours. When you are the first to have an idea, you take out a patent. It's yours. I own the stars because no one before me ever even dreamt of owning them. That's true, said the little prince. And what do you do with them? I manage them, I count them, and then I count them again, said the businessman. It's difficult, but I am a serious man. The little prince still wasn't satisfied. But if I own a scarf, I can wrap it around my neck and take it with me. If I own a flower, I can pick my flower and take it with me. But you can't pick the stars. No, but I can put them in a bank. What does that mean? It means I write down how many stars I have on a little piece of paper and lock the piece of paper in a drawer. And that's all? That's enough. That's amusing, thought the little prince. It's rather poetic, but it isn't very serious. The little prince had very different ideas from the grown-ups about what was serious. Myself, he said, I own a flower, which I water every day. I own 3 volcanoes, which I sweep every week. Even the one which is extinct. You never know. It's helpful to my volcanoes and my flower that I own them. But you aren't useful to the stars. The businessman opened his mouth, but he could find nothing to say in response, and the little prince left. Grown-ups are decidedly altogether extraordinary, he said to himself as he went on his way. Grown-ups are weird. I agree. Chapter 14. The 5th planet was very strange. It was the smallest of them all. There was just enough space for a lamp and a lamplighter. The little prince couldn't understand what a purpose of a lamp and a lamplighter would serve on a planet somewhere in the sky which had neither houses nor people. However, he said to himself, perhaps this man is absurd. However, he's less absurd than the king, the conceited man, the businessman, and the drunkard. At least his work has some meaning. When he lights his lamp, it's like he has created one more star, or one more flower. When he extinguishes his light, the flower or the star is sent back to sleep. It's a very pleasant occupation. It's truly useful since it's pleasant. Once he'd arrived on the planet, he respectfully greeted the lamplighter. Good morning. Why have you just put out your lamp? Those are the orders, replied the lamplighter. Good morning. What are the orders? To put out my lamp. Good evening. And he lit it again. Well, why have you lit it again? That's the orders, replied the lamplighter. I don't understand, said the little prince. There's nothing to understand, said the lamplighter. Orders are orders. Good morning. He put out his lamp. Then he mopped his forehead with a red checked handkerchief. I have a terrible job. It used to be tolerable. I put out the lamp in the morning and lit it in the evening. I had the rest of the day to relax and the rest of the night to sleep. And have the orders changed since then? The orders haven't changed, said the lamplighter. That's the trouble. Year after year, the planet has turned faster and faster, and the orders haven't changed. And so, said the little prince, so now that it turns once every minute, I no longer have a second to rest. I light the lamp and put it out once every minute. That's funny. The days on your planet last 1 minute. It isn't funny at all, said the lamplighter. A month has already passed since we've been talking. A month? Yes, 30 minutes, 30 days. Good evening, and he lit his lamp again. Ain't that just how it be, huh? Well, there we go. I'm trying to make sure yeah. There we go. That's the lamplighter. Wow. The little prince looked at him. He liked his lamplighter who followed his orders so faithfully. He remembered the sunsets that in the past he had managed to see by dragging his chair. He wanted to help his friend. You know, I can think of a way of resting whenever you like. I always want to.
If you ever need
my
any
gosh.
help, my door is always...
Look at that trigger fire. Alright, give me a second. I'm gonna fill up my drink bottle with fresh water because the juice in here tastes a bit funny. Hold on. Does it still taste funny? I don't know. Maybe it's just a... Oh, I don't know. Yeah, no, the juice tastes weird. I need to empty this. I'll be back. Give me 1 moment. And I'm gonna fill it up with water. I forgot I did that. Don't worry. Don't worry, you're all good. Let me just... Where's my BRB text? Is this it? Yeah. I'll be right back real quick. I'll be 1 moment. Ugh. I am back. I am back, I am back, I am back. Yo, kid, a 7-stream watch streak, that's a week. Yeah. So, usually with lore, like Minecraft lore streams, I have the trigger fires turned off. Maybe I'll switch them off for the reading streams as well, but oh, that's so much better. I fucking, bleh. That juice in my drink bottle did not taste great. I can't. 7-stream streak. How are you, kid? Alright, let's get back to it. The little prince looked at him. He liked his lamplighter who followed his orders so faithfully. Excuse me about that. It's raining? Is it cold or is it warm? If it's warm, then I'm so sorry. Oh, what the heck? Some juice spill on my monitor? How the fuck did that get there? I'm so confused. Clean that up real quick. There we go. It's gross. It's gross. If it's hot, then I'm so sorry for you, because you know, that's kind of muggy, but I kept waking up with acid reflux last night, so the rain helped me sleep in. Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good that you got your sleep. He remembered the sunsets that in the past he had managed to see by dragging his chair. He wanted to help his friend. You know, I could think of a way of resting whenever you like. I always wanted to, said the lamplighter. Someone can be reliable and lazy at the same time. The little prince continued. Your planet is so small that you can go around it in 3 steps. All you have to do is walk rather slowly to stay in the sun. When you want to rest, you can walk. When you want to rest, you can walk, and the day will last as long as you like. That doesn't help me much, said the lamplighter. What I'd most like in life is to sleep. Then that's unlucky, said the little prince. Yes, that's unlucky, said the lamplighter. Good morning, and he put out his lamp. That man, the little prince said to himself as he continued on his journey, will be despised by all the others, by the king, by the conceited man, by the drunkard, and by the businessman. But he's the only one that doesn't seem ridiculous to me. It's perhaps because he's not only concerned with himself. He sighed with regret and said to himself again, he's the only one that I could make my friend. But his planet is really too small. There's no room for 2 people. What the little prince didn't dare admit to himself was that he missed this blessed planet most of all because of the 1,440 because of the 1,440 sunsets every 24 hours. Chapter 15. The 6th planet was a planet 10 times bigger. It was inhabited by an old gentleman who wrote enormous books. Goodness, he's an explorer, he exclaimed. Goodness, here's an explorer, he exclaimed when he saw the little prince. The little prince sat on the table, puffing a little. He had already travelled such a lot. Where do you come from? The old gentleman said. What's that huge book? Said the little prince. What do you do here? I'm a geographer, said the old gentleman. What's a geographer? It's a scholar who knows where the seas, the rivers, the towns, the mountains, and the deserts are. That's interesting, said the little prince. Alas, a real job. He glanced around him at the geographer's planet. He had never seen such a majestic planet before. Your planet is very beautiful. Are there any oceans? I wouldn't know, said the geographer. Ah, the little prince was disappointed. And mountains? I wouldn't know, said the geographer. And towns and rivers and towns, rivers and deserts? I wouldn't know that either. But you're a geographer. That's right, said the geographer. But I'm not an explorer. I don't have any explorers. It isn't up to the geographer to count the towns, rivers, mountains, seas, oceans, and deserts. The geographer is much too important to go strolling around. He doesn't leave his office, but he receives explorers. He questions them and writes down their recollections, and if the recollections of one of them seem interesting, the geographer makes inquiries about the morals of that explorer. Why is that? Because an explorer who lies would be disastrous for... Because an explorer who lies would be disastrous for geography books. It's the same with explorers who drink too much. Why is that? Said the little prince. Because drunkards see double. So geography will note down 2 mountains where there is only 1. I know someone, said the little prince, who would be a bad explorer. It's possible. So when the explorer's morals seem to be sound, inquiries are made about his discovery. Someone goes to see it? No, that's too complicated. But the explorer is required to show proof. If, for example, a big mountain was discovered, he's asked to bring back large rocks from it. Suddenly, the geographer exclaimed, "But you come from far away! You're an explorer! You will describe your planet to me." Then, having opened his register, the geographer sharpened his pencil. An explorer's account is written in pencil fast. It is not written in ink until the explorer has brought proof. Well, asked the geographer. Oh, where I live isn't very interesting, said the little prince. It's very small, and I have 3 volcanoes, 2 active volcanoes and 1 extinct, but you never know. You never know, said the geographer. I also have a flower. We don't keep account of flowers, said the geographer. Why is that? It's the prettiest thing. Because flowers are ephemeral. What does ephemeral mean? Geography books, said the geographer, are the most precious books. They never go out of date. It's very rare that a mountain moves. It's very rare that an ocean empties itself of water. We are writing about eternal matters. Incoming ad break in like 30 seconds, but I'll keep reading until then. But extinct volcanoes can reawaken, the little prince interrupted. What does ephemeral mean? Whether volcanoes are extinct or active comes down to the same thing for us, said the geographer. What counts for us is the mountain. It doesn't change. But what does ephemeral mean? Repeated the little prince, who all his life never forgot a question once it had been asked. It means in danger of disappearing soon. My flower is in danger of disappearing soon. Of course. My flower is ephemeral, the little prince said to himself. She only has 4 thorns to defend herself against the world, and I've left her all alone on my planet. I'll wait for the ad break before I continue. We're almost at the end of this chapter. We're already gone through a very big chunk of the book. So we could actually finish at the stream. As long as my phone doesn't die. I like having a face cam on for this. I mean, I could probably put my phone on charge, but it just means an extra cord. I don't want to deal with that right now. Kinda have to. Work. Sorry, I hear Wonderwall playing downstairs. You're my Wonderwall. You're my Wonderwall. Okay. Knocked my phone a little bit. Ugh. My desk is an absolute mess and I really need to clean up, is what I'm realizing for doing this. But I'm gonna be cleaning it in the upcoming week anyway. I have plans. Spin! Alright. Oh! Accidentally made it freeze. Whoopsies. Hold on. I accidentally like exited out of it on my phone. Oh, there we go, we're back. There we go. Squibble, hello! How are you, Squibble? Let's start from back up here. But what does ephemeral mean? Repeated the little prince, who all his life never forgot a question once it had been asked. It means in danger of disappearing soon. My flower is in danger of disappearing soon? Of course. My flower is ephemeral, the little prince said to himself. She only has 4 thorns to defend herself against the world, and I've left her all alone on my planet. That was his first feeling of regret, but he gathered his courage. What do you advise me to visit? He asked. Planet Earth, replied the geographer. It has a good reputation. The little prince went off, thinking of his flower. Chapter 16. How are we all feeling, chat? We're like got a good portion of the book done. I reckon we could probably finish this stream because we've got like that much left. I love the the gold foil, I guess, of the pages on the edges. I love it. I love it. Makes the book feel very fancy. So the 7th planet was Earth. The Earth isn't just an ordinary planet. There are 111 kings, not forgetting, of course, the African kings, 7,000 geographers, 900,000 businessmen, 7.5 million drunkards, and 311 million vain people. That's about 2 billion grown-ups. My PNG tuber keeps getting activated because of the music downstairs that my dad's playing very loudly. Okay. To give you an idea of the dimensions of the Earth, let me tell you that before the invention of electricity, a veritable army of 462,511 lamplighters were needed over the 6 continents. Viewed from afar, it created a splendid effect. The movements of this army were choreographed like a ballet. First came the turn of the lamplighters from New Zealand and Australia. Then, having lit their lamps, they went off to sleep. Next, the lamplighters of China and Siberia entered to take their part in the dance. Then, they too disappeared into the wings, and so came to the turn of the lamplighters of Russia and India, then those of Africa and Europe, then those of South America, and those of North America. And never was there a mistake in the order that they entered the stage. It was magnificent. Only the lighter of the solitary lamp at the North Pole and his colleague, who lights the only lamp at the South Pole, lead idle, carefree lives. They work twice a year. Sometimes when you want to be witty, you tell a little lie. I wasn't completely honest when I told you about the lamplighters. I risk giving the false idea of our planet to those who don't know it. Men occupy a very small amount of space on Earth. If the 2 billion people who populate the Earth stand upright and are a little bit squashed together as though attending a meeting, they could easily fit in a public square 20 miles long by 20 miles wide. The human race would be crammed into the tiniest Pacific island. Could be crammed onto the tiny Pacific island. Of course, grown-ups won't believe you. They imagine that they take up much more room. They consider themselves as important as the baobabs. Suggests they do the arithmetic. They love figures. That will please them. But don't waste your time with that chore. It's pointless, believe me. So, once he arrived on Earth, the little prince was very surprised not to see anyone. He was afraid he was on the wrong planet, until a ring of color of the moon wriggled in the sand. Good evening, said the little prince, just in case. Good evening, said the snake. Which planet have I landed on? Said the little prince. On Earth, in Africa, replied the snake. Ah, so there are no people on Earth? It's a desert here. There's no one in the deserts. Earth is big, said the snake. The little prince sat on a rock and looked up at the sky. I'm wondering, he said,
If the stars are lit up so that each person can find their own one day. Look at my planet. It's just above us, but it's so far away.
It's beautiful, said the snake. What are you going to do here?
I have some problems with a flower, said the little prince.
Ah, said the serpent, and they fell silent.
Where are the people? The little prince asked after a while. It's a bit lonely in the desert.
It's just as lonely among people, said the snake.
The little prince looked at him for a long time. You're a funny creature, he said firmly. Thin like a finger.
But I'm more powerful than the finger of a king, said the snake.
The little prince smiled. You aren't very powerful. You don't even have paws. You can't even travel.
I can carry you further than the ship, said the snake. John, Gone, Pug, Fish, Friend, and Pee-Pee, Winner, Boy Free. Hi!
Hi! Hi!
How are you? How are you, Humphrey? He wrapped himself around the ankle of the little prince like a gold bracelet. I return whoever I touched the earth from which they came, said, but you are pure and you come from a star. The little prince didn't reply. I feel sorry for you. You're so fragile on this earth, made from granite. I might help you one day if you feel too homesick for your own planet. I might...
Oh, I understood very well, said the little prince. But why do you always talk in riddles?
I solved them all, said the snake. And they were both silent. How do you have your camera set up? Are you wearing a chest mount? No, I have a little phone stand, and I usually have my phone stand set up like over here, which is like, you know, for face cam purposes. I usually have it set up here, on top of this book, this little pile here, and usually like it's an easy way so I can see if my phone starts ringing and stuff. So yeah. I'm just using my phone stand. My phone's at 48%. Oh, let's see if we can get through the rest of this book. Fingers crossed. I kind of hope we can finish this book, this stream, because we only have such a little bit to go now. We have such a little bit. And we've made it this far into the book, so, and we're very much past the halfway mark, so I think we can do it. You missed it earlier, Humphrey, but I said, I looked up at my phone and was like, I looked at the little like camera program that I have for my phone because it tells me the battery percentage, and I was like, oh, my phone's on 67%. It was so funny though, because it was like pure coincidence. It was pure coincidence that I looked at it right at that moment. I was like, fuck. It was terrible. Chapter 18. The little prince traveled across the desert and met only one flower. It was a flower with 3 petals. An unremarkable flower.
Good morning, said the little prince.
Good morning, said the flower.
Where are the people?
The little prince asked politely. The flower had seen a caravan pass by.
People? They do exist, I think. 6 or 7 of them. I caught sight of them a few years ago, but you never know where to find them. They're blown around by the wind. They lack roots, which is troublesome.
Goodbye, said the little prince. Goodbye, said the flower. Fuck you, Humphrey. Fuck you. I didn't even notice that. There's another time, a point in the book where it said like 6 or 7, I'm pretty sure. I just kind of like sat there like, yeah, no. Fuck you. Chapter 19. The little prince climbed a high mountain. The only mountains he had ever seen there were the 3 volcanoes, which only came up to his knees, which used the extinct volcano as a stool. Hold on, I'd have to adjust my PNG tubers, like... There we go. I had to adjust its sensitivity. So it's just being constantly activated by my dad's music playing. It's still like activating here and there, but it's doing a lot better than what it was. Okay. Okay.
The little prince climbed a high mountain. The only mountains he had ever known were the 3 volcanoes, which only came up to his knees. He used the extinct volcano as a stool. From a mountain as high as this one, he said to himself, I'll be able to see the whole planet and all the people at one glance. But he saw only rocky peaks as sharp as needles. Good morning, he said, just in case. Good morning, good morning, good morning, replied the echo. Who are you? Asked the little prince. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Replied the echo. Be my friend, I'm all alone, he said. I'm all alone, I'm all alone, I'm all alone, replied the echo. What a strange planet, he thought. It's all dry and sharp and rough. And people have no imagination. They repeat what you say to them. On my planet, I had a flower. She always spoke first. Chapter 20. Having walked for a long time across the sand, rocks, and snow, the little prince finally discovered a road, and all roads lead to people. Good morning, he said. It was a garden full of roses. Good morning, said the roses. The little prince surveyed them. They all looked like his flower. Who are you? He asked them in astonishment. We are the roses, said the roses. Ah, said the little prince, and he felt very unhappy. His flower had told him that she was the only one of her species in the whole universe. And now, here were 500 all the same in one single garden. She'd be very upset. She'd be very upset if she saw this, he said to himself. She would cough and pretend to be dying to avoid looking foolish. Then I would have to pretend to take care of her, because if not, she'd really let herself die to humiliate me too. And then he said to himself, I thought I was rich, with a unique flower, but I only have an ordinary rose. That and my 3 volcanoes, which come up to my knees, one of which is possibly extinct forever, doesn't make me a very important prince. And lying down on the grass, he cried. Boing. Chapter 21. It was then that the fox appeared. Good morning, said the fox. Good morning, said the little prince, replied politely, turning but not saying anything. I'm here, said the voice, under the apple tree. Who are you? Said the little prince. You're very pretty. I'm a fox, said the fox. Come and play with me, urged the little prince. I'm very sad. I can't come and play with you, said the fox. I haven't been tamed. Ah, sorry, said the little prince. But after some reflection he added, What does tame mean? You aren't from here, said the fox. What are you looking for? I'm looking for people, said the prince. What does tame mean? People, said the fox. They have guns and they hunt. It's really annoying. They also keep chickens. It's their only interest. Are you looking for chickens? No, said the little prince. I'm looking for friends. What does tame mean? Something too often forgotten. It means creating a bond. Creating a bond? Yes, said the fox. To me, you're still a little boy, just the same as 100,000 other boys. I don't need you, and you don't need me either. For you, I'm just a fox, the same as 100,000 other foxes. If you tame me, we'll need each other. You'll be unique in the world for me, and I'll be unique for you. Little picture. I'm beginning to understand, said the little prince. There's a flower. I think she's tamed me. It's possible, said the fox. You see all sorts of things on Earth. Oh, it isn't on Earth, said the little prince. Fox looked intrigued. On another planet? Yes. Are there hunters on that planet? No. That's interesting. And chickens? No. Nothing's perfect, said the fox. The fox returned to his thought. My life is monotonous. I hunt chickens. People hunt me. All the chickens look alike, and all the people look alike. So I'm a bit bored. But if you tame me, my life will be filled with sunshine. I recognize the sound of a footstep that would be different from all the others. Other footsteps make me hurry back underground. Yours would draw me out of my burrow, like music. And look, do you see the field of wheat over there? I don't eat bread. Wheat is useless to me. Fields of wheat bring back no memories for me, and that's sad, but
You have hair the color of gold, and that would be one. And. Bleh. And that would be wonderful. Hold on. I skipped a line. And that's sad. But you have hair the color of gold, and that would be wonderful once you've tamed me. The wheat is golden. It will remind me of you. I'd like hearing the sound of the wind through the wheat. The fox was silent and gazed at the little prince for a long time. Please, tame me, he said. I'd really like to, replied the little prince, but I don't have a lot of time. I've got friends to find and lots of things to learn. We only know the things we've tamed, said the fox. People no longer have time to know anything. They buy things ready-made at the shops. But since there are no shops selling friends, people no longer have friends. If you want a friend, tame me. What do I have to do? Asked the little prince. You must be patient, replied the fox. First, you sit a little away from me on the grass, like this. I'll look at you out of the corner of my eye, and you'll say nothing. Words are a source of misunderstandings, but each day you could sit a little closer. The little prince came back the next day. It would have been better to come back at the same time, said the fox. If, for example, you come at 4 in the afternoon, from 3 o'clock I'll begin to feel happy. As the hour goes on, I'll feel more and more happy. At 4 o'clock I'll already be agitated and worried. I'll discover the price of happiness, but if you come just at any time, I'll never know when to make my heart ready. We need rituals. What's a ritual? Said the little prince. It's also something that is too often forgotten, said the fox. It's what makes one day different from another, 1 hour different from another. My hunters, for example, have a ritual. On Thursdays they dance with the village girls, so Thursday is a wonderful day. I take a walk as far as the vineyard. If the hunters were to dance on just any day, then all days would be the same and I would never have any holiday. So it was that the little prince tamed a fox, and when the time for his departure was approaching, "Ah," said the little fox, "I shall cry." "It's your fault," said the little prince. "I didn't wish you any harm, but you wanted me to tame you." "Yes, I know," said the fox. "But you'll cry," said the little fox. "Of course," said the fox. "So you have gained nothing from this." "But I have gained," said the fox, "because of the color of the wheat." Then he had to go and see the roses again. "You understand that yours is unique in the world. When you come back to say goodbye to me, I'll give you a present of a secret." The little prince went to see the roses. "You aren't at all the same as my rose. You're nothing yet," he said. "No one has tamed you, and you haven't tamed anyone. You're as my fox was. He was just like 100,000 other foxes, but I made him my friend, and now he's unique in the world." And the roses were very embarrassed. "You are beautiful, but you're empty," he continued. "No one would die because of you. Of course, an ordinary passerby would think that my rose looks like you, but she is more important than all of you because it's her that I have watered, because it's her that I have put under a cloche, because it's her that I have sheltered behind the screen, because it's her that I have killed the caterpillars, except for 2 or 3 for the butterflies, because it's her that I have listened to complaining or boasting or even sometimes being silent, because she is my rose." He came back to the fox. "Goodbye," he said. "Goodbye," said the fox. "Here's my secret. It's very simple. We only see clearly with the heart. What's essential is invisible to the eyes." "The essential is invisible to the eyes," repeated the little prince, so that he would remember. "It's the time that you have spent on your rose, which makes your rose so important." "It's the time that I have spent on my rose," said the little prince, so that he would remember. "People have forgotten this truth," said the fox, "but you must not forget it. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed. You are responsible for your rose." "I am responsible for my rose," repeated the little prince, so that he would remember. Beep. Chapter 22. "Good morning," said the little prince. "Good morning," said the railway man. "What do you do here?" asked the little prince. "I sort the passengers into groups of 1,000, said the railway man. "I dispatched a train carrying them, sometimes to the right, sometimes to the left." And a brightly lit express train
and a brightly lit express train, rumbling like thunder, made the railwayman's cabin shake. They're really in a hurry, said the little prince. What are they looking for? Even a train driver doesn't know, said the railwayman. And a second brightly lit express train came rumbling through in the opposite direction. Are they coming back already? Asked the little prince. They're not the same people, said the railwayman. It's an exchange. Weren't they happy where they were? No one is ever happy where they are, said the railwayman. And roaring like thunder, along came another brightly lit train. Are they chasing the first passengers? Asked the little prince. They aren't chasing anything at all, said the railwayman. They're sleeping in there, or else they're yawning. Only the children press their noses against the windows. Only the children know what they're looking for, said the little prince. They spend their time playing with a rag doll, and it becomes very important, and if you take it away, they cry. They're lucky, said the railwayman. Chapter 23. Good morning, said the little prince. Good morning, said the salesman. He was selling pills carefully created to quench thirst. If just one pill was swallowed every week, there would no longer be any need to drink. Why do you sell them? Asked the little prince. It saves a huge amount of time, said the salesman. Experts have made calculations. You save 53 minutes a week. And what do you do with 53 minutes? You do whatever you like. Myself, the little prince said to himself, if I had 53 minutes spent, I'd walk very slowly towards the fountain. Chapter 24. It was 8 days since I had broken down, and I had listened to the story of the salesman while drinking the last drop of my water supply. Ah, I said to the little prince, the stories are all enjoyable, but I still haven't repaired my plane, and I have nothing left to drink. I'd be pleased too if I could walk slowly towards a fountain. My friend the fox, he said. My dear little fellow, it's not about the fox now. Why? Because we are going to die of thirst. He didn't understand my logic. He replied, it's good to have a friend, even if you're going to die. I'm very glad to have had a fox for a friend. He never considers the danger, I thought. He's never been hungry or thirsty. A little bit of sunshine is all he needs. But he looked at me and responded to my thoughts. I'm thirsty too. Let's look for a well. I shrugged. It's absurd just to set out to search for a well in an enormous desert. Nonetheless, we started walking. We walked for hours in silence. Then night fell and the stars began to shine. Being a little feverish because of my thirst, I saw them as though in a dream. The little prince's words danced in my mind. Are you thirsty too? I asked. But he didn't reply to my question. He simply said, water can also be good for the heart. I didn't understand his answer, but I was silent. I knew it was best not to question him. He was tired and sat down. I sat next to him, and after a silence, he said, the stars are beautiful because of a flower that we can't see. I replied, yes, of course, and then quietly gazed at the ridges of sand in the moonlight. The desert is beautiful, he added. And it was true. I've always loved the desert. Seated on a sand dune, you see nothing. You hear nothing. But there is something radiating in the silence. What makes the desert beautiful, said the little prince, is that it's hiding a well somewhere. I was surprised to suddenly understand this mysterious energy in the sand. When I was a little boy, I lived in an old house, and legend was that treasure had been hidden there. Of course, no one had ever discovered it, and perhaps no one had ever even searched, but the house seemed magical because of it. My house was hiding a secret deep in its heart. Yes, I said to the little prince, whether it's the house, the stars, or the desert, the thing that makes them beautiful is invisible. I'm glad that you agree with the fox, he said. As the little prince fell asleep, I gathered him up in my arms and set off again. I was moved. I felt as if I was carrying a fragile treasure. It even seemed as if there was nothing more fragile on earth than on earth. In the moonlight, I looked at his pale forehead, his closed eyes, the locks of hair fluttering in the wind, and I said to myself, what I see here is only a shell. What's most important is invisible. As his half-open lips showed a hint of a smile, I said to myself, What moves me so much about this sleeping little prince is his loyalty to a flower, this image of a rose that radiates in him like a flame in a lamp, even while he sleeps. And I felt he was more fragile than before. Lamps should be protected carefully. A gust of wind can blow them out. And walking on like this, I discovered the well at dawn. Chapter 25. People, said the little prince, crowd onto express trains, but they no longer know what they are looking for. So they get flustered and spin around in circles. And, he added, it isn't worth it. Hold on, I might have something plugged in so I can charge. Keep my phone on charge. Hold on. Is it this cord? I think I found a cord. Yeah, it's this cord, but it's tangled in all these other cords. I'm just wary of my phone battery, and I'm like, I think I can do something about this. I think I'll plug this in. Yeah. There we go. Oh! Hold on. There we go. Got it fixed. Okay, my phone's on charge now, so if it's gonna die slower if it doesn't charge properly. Which it should, but we'll see. We'll see. Alright, chapter 25. There we go. People, said the little prince, crowd onto express trains, but they no longer know what they are looking for. So they get flustered and spin around in circles. And, he added, it isn't worth it. The well we had found didn't look like a Saharan well. Saharan wells are simple holes dug in the sand. This one looked like a village well, but there was no village. I thought I was dreaming. It's strange, I said to the little prince. Everything is ready, the pulley, the bucket, and the rope. He laughed, took hold of the rope, and set the pulley in motion. The pulley moaned with a sound like an old weather vane that the wind was not roused in a long... The wind has not roused in a long while. Did you hear? Said the little prince. We've woken up the well, and it's singing. Okay, my phone is still dying, but it might die slower because of the it being plugged in now. Anyway, I don't want him to make too much effort. Let me do it, I said. It's too heavy for you. Slowly, I hoisted the bucket up to the top of the well, and there I set it down carefully. I could still hear the song of the pulley in my ears, and in the water, which was still rippling, I saw the shimmering sun. I'm thirsty for that water, said the little prince. Give me a drink. I understood what he had been searching for. I lifted the bucket to his lips. He drank, his eyes closed. It was sweet like a feast. This water was more than mere refreshment. It had been born from that walk under the stars, the song of the pulley and the effort of my arms. It did the heart good, like a gift. When I was a small boy, it was the lights from the Christmas tree, the music of the midnight mass, and the sweetness of the smiles that made the presents I received so special. People on your planet, said the little prince, grow 5,000 roses in the same garden, but they don't find what they are looking for there. No, they don't find it, I replied. And yet, what they seek could be found in a single rose or a drop of water. Of course, I replied, and the little prince added, but eyes are blind. You need to look with the heart. Head drunk.
I breathed. I breathed so. I blah, blah. I breathed. I breathed. There we go. I breathed easily. At daybreak, the sand was the color of honey, and the honey color brought me happiness too. So, why did I feel such sorrow? The little prince sat close to me again. You must keep your promise, he said softly. What promise? You know, the muzzle for my sheep. I'm responsible for that flower. I took my sketches out of my pocket. The little prince looked at them and laughed, saying, your baobabs are a bit like cabbages. Oh. I was so proud of the baobabs. Your fox, his ears, they look a bit like thorns. They're too long, he laughed again. You're unfair, little fellow. I don't know how to draw anything apart from boas from the outside and bows from the inside. Oh, that will be fine. Children understand. So I sketched a muzzle, and with a heavy heart, I gave it to him. You have plans that I know nothing about. But he didn't reply. He said, you know, when I landed on Earth, tomorrow will be the anniversary. And after a silence, he spoke again. I landed very close to here. And he blushed. Again, without understanding why, I felt a strange sadness. However, a question occurred to me. So it wasn't by chance the morning we met a week ago that you were walking here alone, 1,000 miles from any human habitation. You're returning to the place where you landed. The little prince blushed again, hesitating. I added, perhaps because of this anniversary. The little prince blushed again. He never replied to questions, but when you blush, that means yes, doesn't it? Ah, I said, I'm frightened. But he replied, you should work now. You should go back to your plane. I'll wait for you here. Come back tomorrow evening. I wasn't reassured. I remembered the fox. If you let yourself be tamed, you run the risk of shedding some tears. My heart. Alright. Chapter 26. Next to the well, there was an old ruined stone wall. When I returned from my work the next evening, I saw from a distance my little prince sitting on high, his legs dangling. I heard him say, don't you remember? And then, it isn't exactly here. Another voice replied, no doubt because he answered back, yes, yes, it's certainly the day. But it isn't the place. I kept walking towards the wall, and still I neither saw nor heard anyone. However, the little prince answered back again, of course you'll see where my tracks began in the sand. Just wait for me. I'll be there tonight. I was 20 meters from the wall, and I still saw nothing. After a silence, the little prince spoke again. Is your venom strong? Are you sure that you won't make me suffer for too long? I stopped, my heart pounding, but I still didn't understand. So off you go, he said. I want to get down. For this, I looked down towards the foot of the wall. It's the snake. And I leapt in surprise. There, drawn up to face the little prince, was one of the yellow snakes that can kill you in 30 seconds. Rummaging in my pocket to pull out my revolver, I began to run, but on hearing a noise, the snake gently dropped down into the sand like a jet of water that is petered out, and without too much hurry, it slipped between the stones with a faint grating sound. I reached the wall just in time to catch the little fellow in my arms. It was white as snow. What's going on here? Are you talking to snakes now? I had untied the gold-colored scarf that he always wore. I dampened his temples and given him a drink, and now I did not dare ask him anything more. He looked at me gravely and wrapped his arms around my neck. I felt his heart beating like a bird that was dying after being shot. He said, I'm glad you found what you needed to repair your engine. Now you'll be able to return home. How do you know? I'd come to tell him, despite my fears, I had succeeded in my task. He didn't reply to my question, but he added, I'm going home today too. Then sadly, it's a much longer way. It will be much more difficult. I felt that something extraordinary was happening. I held him tight in my arms, like a tiny child, but still it seemed as if he was tumbling down into an abyss, and I could do nothing to prevent it. He looked solemn, lost in a faraway place. I've got your sheep, and I've got the crate for your sheep, and I have the muzzle. He smiled sadly. I waited for a long while. Little by little, I felt him warming up. Little fellow, you were very frightened. Of course he was afraid, but he laughed softly. I'll be much more frightened this evening. Once again, I felt chilled by the sense of hopelessness. I realized I couldn't bear the thought that I wouldn't hear him laugh again. It was like a fountain in the desert for me. Little fellow, I want to hear you laugh again. But he said, tonight, it will be a year. My star will be just above the... Whoops, I knocked my phone. Okay. Your stream tells me to love my Canadian government overlords and watch Heated Rivalry only on Craig. You should watch Heated Rivalry. You should watch Heated Rivalry, Maggie. You should watch Heated Rivalry. I've been thinking about watching it at that time. Anyway, sorry. I got really distracted by that. What was I up to? Sorry. I really broke the read with that one. Let's go back up a bit. Little fellow, you are very frightened. Of course he was afraid, but he laughed softly. I'll be much more frightened this evening. Once again, I felt chilled by the sense of hopelessness, and I realized I couldn't bear the thought that I wouldn't hear him laugh again. It was like a fountain in the desert for me. Little fellow, I want to hear you laugh again. But he said, tonight it will be a year. My star will be just above the place where I landed last year. Little fellow, the story of the snake and the meeting place and the star, is it not just a bad dream? But he didn't reply to my question. He simply said, what's important can't be seen. Yes, that's true. It's like the flower. If you love a flower that grows on a star, it's nice to look at the sky at night. All the stars are covered in flowers. Yes, that's true. It's like the water. The water you gave me was like a kind of music because of the pulley and the rope. Do you remember? It was good. Yes, that's true. At night, you'll look at the stars. My star's too small to be able to show it to you, but it's better like that. My star will just be one of the stars for you, so you'll feel happy when you look up at them. They'll all be your friends. And now I have a present for you. He laughed again. Oh, little fellow, I love to hear that laugh. Exactly, and that's my present. It'll be just like the water. What do you mean? People see the stars in different ways. For those who are travelers, the stars act as a guide. For others, they are nothing but tiny lights. Those who are scholars, they pose questions. For my businessmen, they were gold. The stars are silent, but you will see the stars as no one else does. What do you mean? Because I will be living on one of the stars, and because I will be laughing there. When you look at the sky at night, the stars will laugh for you. Only your stars will be able to laugh. And he laughed again. And when you have found some solace, sorrow will pass in the end. You'll be glad to have known me. You'll always be my friend. You'll want to laugh with me, and sometimes you'll open a window just for the pleasure of it. Your friends will be astonished to see you laughing while you look up at the sky, and you'll say, yes, the stars always make me laugh. They'll think you're crazy. I will have played a naughty trick on you. He laughed once more. It will be as though instead of the stars, I've given you lots of little bells that laugh. He laughed and then looked serious again. Tonight, don't come. I won't leave you. I'll look like I'm in pain. I'll look like I'm dying. That's how it is. Don't come and see that. It's of no use. I won't leave you. He was worried. I'm telling you this, but it's also because of the snake. You mustn't let him bite you. Snakes are spiteful. He might just bite you for the fun of it. I won't leave you. Something reassured him. It's true. They don't have enough venom for a second bite. At night, I didn't see him set off. He had slipped away without making a sound. I managed to catch him up
He was walking purposefully with rapid steps. He simply said, "Ah, you're here." He took me by the hand, but he was worried again. "You shouldn't have come. You will suffer. It'll look like I'm dead, but it won't be true." I didn't say anything. "Do you understand? It's too far away. I can't carry this body with me. It's too heavy." I didn't say anything. It will be like some old discarded shell. An old shell isn't sad." I didn't say anything. He was a bit discouraged, but he made one more effort. "It would be nice, you know. I'll look at the stars too. All the stars will be like wells with rusty pulleys. All the stars will pour me a drink." Didn't say anything. "It would be such fun. We have 500 million little bells. I'll have 500 million fountains." And then he said nothing, because he was crying. "You've arrived. Let me go on a little by myself." And he sat down because he was afraid. And he said, "You know, my flower, I'm responsible for her. And she's very fragile. And she's very naive. She has 4 thorns, which are no good at all to protect herself against the world." Unable to stand any longer, I sat down too. "So, that's everything." He hesitated for a second, and then he stood up. He took a step. Myself, I couldn't move. There was only a yellow flash close to his ankle. He stood motionless for a moment. He didn't cry out. He fell gently, like a tree. He didn't even make a sound because of the sand. Chapter 27. And now, of course, it's already been 6 years, and I've never told the story. Friends who have seen me since have been delighted to find me alive. I was sad, but I told them I was tired. Now I have found some comfort, that's to say, my spirits are not fully restored. I know that he managed to return to his planet, because when the sun rose, I didn't find his body. It wasn't a very heavy body, and I like to listen to the stars at night, like 500 million little bells. There is something extraordinary I'd forgotten to add, the leather strap to the muzzle that I drew for the little prince. It would never have been able to fasten it to the sheep, so I wonder what happened on his planet. The sheep might well have eaten the flower. Sometimes I say to myself, surely not. Every night the little prince covers his flower with glass, and he keeps a watchful eye on his sheep. So I'm content. And all the stars laugh softly. Other times I say to myself, everyone is absent-minded sometimes, and that's all it takes. One evening he might forget the cloche. Or perhaps the sheep will escape without making any noise one night. And then the little bells all turn into tears. And so there is a great mystery for me, as well as for those of you who love the little prince. Everything in the universe changes if somewhere, we don't know where, a sheep that we have never seen has eaten a rose. Look at the sky. Ask yourselves, yes or no, has the sheep eaten a flower? And you will see how everything changes. No grown-up will ever understand why this is so important. The end. Oh gosh. Alright, let's switch to that. How did we feel about that? The first reading stream ever. Yup. I'll get better at like not getting so distracted when reading and stuff. I'll probably figure out something better for the camera situation. But yeah. Let me open up Twitch and see who we can raid. How are we feeling? How are we feeling?
Not a lot of people to raid, actually. Hmm. But yeah. What is everyone's thoughts on the little points? Is anyone crying? Because I think I almost cried when reading this the first time. Which was almost exactly a year ago. I have no idea when the next reading stream will be or what the next book will be. It won't be for a little bit because I need to... I think the next stream we're gonna do is Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, and then maybe a Minecraft lore stream on like Deserted Plains or Necronomicraft. I almost knocked over my mic. Whoops. Oh, what? Oh gosh, I've shrunk myself. That's not supposed to happen. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I don't know when the next reading stream will be. Reminder that like I will have an entire week off from streaming soon. On Monday, tomorrow, I might do either a Phoenix Wright stream or a Minecraft lore stream on Necronomicraft, but I haven't really decided. It might just be a Phoenix Wright stream, honestly. Yeah, I might do that tomorrow. But we'll see. Tuesday is also another day for a possible stream. Maybe I have to double check my calendar and stuff. Wednesday is another day for a possible stream, but I'm getting my hair dyed that day, and I've got a lot of things I need to get done off my flight on the weekend. And Thursday, I definitely won't be streaming because I got work. And on from Friday onwards, it'll be like a week off streaming. So, oh shit! I also need to do my early voting shit. State elections stuff. Fuck. I need to do that. Okay, let's see. So we've got Karma is playing Minecraft. Betsy Plant Art is celebrating 2-year stream anniversary, so that's another good choice. I feel like I have rated Karma somewhat recently. Yeah, let's raid Thirsty Plant Art. So it's its affiliate anniversary. Okay. But yeah, next stream we'll probably do a stream tomorrow. Exclamation mark raid 1. If you're not subbed, raid 2 for those who are. We're gonna raid it off to Thirsty Plant Art. And we're gonna go send Thirsty Plant Art some love because it is 2-year stream anniversary, so 2 years is pretty big dubs. Yeah, everyone go give him some love. Thank you all for watching. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are, whether on Earth or in space. Have a wonderful time zone. I hope you guys enjoyed my reading. Where am I being atted? God damn it, Avery. I hope you guys enjoyed my reading of The Little Prince. And if you guys do want more reading streams, like, feel free to put in some, like, more public domain suggestions and stuff. Avery, my goat. But yes, thank you all for watching. And go give Thirsty Plant Art some love. Yes. Remember, always was, always will be. Stay deadly, folks. See y'all next time. Tomorrow, probably. Goodbye.